Hey there, it's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Radcliffe.
Hey, we're pretty pumped about talking to Dr. Greg Smalley, Vice President of Marriage at Focus on the Family and author of over 20 books now, I believe. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing great. We can't go back into our office until Friday, so I've been working from home the last couple of days. So that always puts me in a good mood.
As well it should. You said you and the dog getting to hang out at home, and your wife's at work, and your daughter's at school. So what more could you ask for?
I know, just maybe more food here at the home. So I wouldn't have to actually leave for any reason.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that.
Well, listen, we appreciate what you do. You and Aaron, actually, I think we talked to Aaron last year or the year before. You guys, your family's legends, and you have a huge heart for folks. And specifically today, we want to talk about divorce and how to help people through that season. I read an article, I think it was this year. I don't know. Our years have kind of meshed together. Is it 1983? What year is this?
Yes, it is.
Those that were locked down, and both we were locked down with our families, our spouses, and we all worked from home, and some we're still working from home. The couples got to where they were working together so much that divorce rates went up as soon as they could get to the courthouse or file the papers. Did you find that? Did you see that article?
I did. I think for a lot of couples during quarantine, what happened is that it basically shined a big spotlight on problems that they had just gotten really good at ignoring over the years. We can distract by working, by hobbies and kids and friends, and I think it forced people to go, okay, here's the issue. We can't ignore it. What are we going to do about it? And so I think for a lot of couples, they actually did Zoom counseling. My wife's a marriage therapist, and she did tons of that. Never been busier, and got help. And they're stronger today than before COVID. And praise the Lord, that's awesome. I think for some, they just decided it's not worth it. Can't deal with it anymore, and went their separate ways, which is unfortunate. Because there's always help available. And we see that. We get to work with couples all the time where there's been some, I'm like, oh, I don't know how they're going to make it. And you know what? They do the work, and God shows up, and they have stronger marriages now because of the work they put into it.
It's interesting.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, Dan, I just want to jump in just for a second, then I'll let you go ahead. It's interesting you said something, the 4-letter word, which is very important. They did the work. Do you find that in most cases? I know there's not a general case, but if people will do the work, they're well on their way to moving forward.
Absolutely. The great news, we have a God who's fighting for your marriage. So you've got him in your corner. And if people are willing to do the work, there's so much good help available. And my wife's a great example of just, we've got some fantastic marriage therapists who are able to help. And if they're willing to go, okay, how do I get my heart open a little bit so that God can really come in and do this work? And when they dig in and face issues and learn new ways of relating, there's always hope.
Talking to Dr. Greg Smalley from Focus on the Family, and now in the stats that you sent us, it says the studies show that divorce rates peak in August. Why August in particular?
Yeah. January is the highest, and then August is right behind. It's because it's kind of like this, so take January. So you're going through Thanksgiving, Christmas, you're together, holidays, a lot of family time. And I think the hope is we're not doing well. Let's really give this one more chance. Maybe Christmas, maybe Thanksgiving, spending time together is going to make a difference. You also then see that in August, because the hope is during the summer, vacations, we can be together. The hope is by doing those things that something will change. And then oftentimes when that doesn't work out that way, that's why you see January and August being high divorce rates. And I think that the tragedy within that is that I think a lot of people see marriage as an individual sport. They go through problems, things are happening, they isolate, no one will understand, we're the only ones going through this. And I think one of the greatest things I've learned, been married almost 30 years, and all the work with couples that we do is that marriage is a team sport. It takes a village to raise a family. We need community. One of a good friend of mine, a guy named Ted Cunningham, who's a pastor, a marriage therapist. I love his quote. He says that marriage is a duet in need of background singers. And when couples go through hard times, that's when they need people to step in. This is what happened to my wife and I 3 years into our marriage. I really thought we were done. I didn't think we were going to make it. And we isolated. No one knew. We were suffering in silence. And that a woman called looking for Aaron. I answer the phone. So this is pre-cell phone. This is corded phones on the wall. Grab the phone.
How weird that is.
I know. I'm old. I get it. I answer the phone and this woman goes, "Hey, Greg, I'm looking for Aaron." And I said, "Oh, she's gone." And this woman literally goes, "Oh, Greg, I'm so sorry. My husband and I, we were so afraid that this was going to happen." And I'm sitting there going, what are you talking about? Like, she's gone, like she's at the store, I think, unless you
know something I don't know.
And there was like this awkward silence. And the woman finally says, "Okay, I'm humiliated. However," she goes, we know you guys aren't doing well. We know it. We feel it. We see it. You're just not talking about it. How about tonight? You guys come over and let's talk." And you guys, that was the first time that Aaron and I were able to be honest.
Wow. We
came clean and we said, we aren't making it and we don't want to be married to each other anymore. We're so mad at each other. And this couple basically said, "Listen, you're not going anywhere. You're going to get help. We're going to walk with you." And I'm convinced that a marriage can survive off of someone else's hope for a season. Wow. And that was true for Aaron and I. We didn't see it. We had lost hope. We felt helpless, hopeless. And it was this couple's hope in what God could do within our marriage that made such a big difference. But then they walked with us. We didn't have to do this alone. Were they trained? Were they marriage experts? No. All they did is said, we're going to walk with you. We ain't going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. And that's the opportunity. And I believe if people just had a vision of, okay, what does that look like? How do I come alongside of a friend who's struggling and hurting? What do I say? What do I not say? That's what I get passionate to help people understand.
Dr. Greg Smalley, Vice President of Marriage, a Focus on the Family, author of over 20 books, also a speaker, does so many things. I remember that you and Aaron telling that story many years ago on Focus. And I was at the office listening, and I stopped. Sometimes we kind of have to listen. I had to sit down and listen to the story. It was very moving and very impactful on our lives as well. So to come beside folks that are struggling with marriage, let's talk about divorce now. Folks go through divorce season. They go ahead and they just say, I'm done. How do we help those? Sometimes we don't know what to say. Sometimes couples draw back, separately. You lose one out of the shuffle. How do we help them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to be available. We've all heard the, one way to spell love is TIME. To be available, to say, I'm here with you, to be a great listener. Sometimes it's a matter of showing up to clean a house, to take kids to sports, school. How can I be available? How can I help beyond just that lip service that we're all great at saying, yeah, I'm there for you. How can I help? But to really show up. I think the temptation is to give advice, to feel like we have to have an answer. We have to fix and solve something. And I think one of the greatest gifts we can give someone in going through that difficult season is just our empathy in support, in understanding, to go, what is this like? How are you doing? Tell me seriously, what's going on today? How do you feel today? And we just don't have to have the pressure to go, okay, and then you have to do all these things. I think just showing up and being available and going, I'm not going anywhere. This isn't about advice giving. We're more than an advisor. We do a lot of listening, and then we point people towards help. we share our own, we're transparent, and we talk about our own challenging seasons in what that was like and what we learned from that. And, I think we stay away from, there's so many Christian platitudes that, I get the heart behind a lot of them, that, hey, God's in control, that, when a door closes, there could be a window, whatever,
Right.
whatever, pick your platitude.
Right.
And I think we default to those things because we all feel so uncomfortable around someone's pain and hurt. And we don't know what to say, what to do.
Mhm.
That's the good news, just presence. Yeah, I remember a good friend of mine, his wife passed away, and I would just go and I would sit with him. And sometimes it was like, he would say, I got to get some work done. And I would say, great, I brought my computer. I'm just going to sit with you. And you don't have to say anything.
Mhm.
Something about someone going, I know you're there for me. And I just did a whole lot of listening. And so I think those are the ways that we can be helpful, to be trustworthy. That, I think as Christians, it's easy for us to talk about other people disguised as a prayer request.
The prayer request, yeah,
For
definitely.
example. And, I get it. I always tell people, hey, as you share your story, that's your story. That is your story to share. That's not mine. And I'm not going to talk to people about what's going on for you. That's yours to share. And I think that's a part of how we can be trustworthy.
And I think something you pointed out earlier, it's so important if you're the couple that is struggling in your marriage, is to realize that God has brought people around you in the church. We're so afraid to show that we're having problems in our marriage, that people might think differently of us, that we're afraid to share about it, and we just suffer in silence. But it's important to see that God has brought a community around you and take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's so, I think a part of even how we can change culture within our churches is to be willing to share our marriage story. And I always encourage people, here's how you share your story. You talk about the good, you talk about the bad, but then you focus on the turning points.
Mm.
I'm able to say, hey, 30 years now later, Aaron and I are still together. And here's been the beauty of our marriage. Here's our love story. Here's what God has done. Here's been the hard times. Here's what we've gone through, there were moments we didn't think we were going to make it, but here's how God showed up. Here's what we've learned. Here's what he's taught us. Because I think that sort of transparency, it's contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And when people hear us being vulnerable and being honest about our marriage, the good, the bad, the turning points, they're willing then to go, you know what? Because I think we're kind of in that same season you talked about. And what did you guys do? And it just gives you a great opportunity to walk with them during that. But I think that you look at social media and we see the good, that we don't measure up to. It's rare that someone posts a really an awful picture and, look, we're struggling in this. We don't do that.
Right.
And yet, how do we kind of cultivate that willingness to be honest and transparent, and watch how people will respond? They'll open up to you. And boy, now God's given you a great opportunity to step in and be a great listener, to be a hope giver. So it's a great opportunity.
Love that. Dr. Greg Smalley, Vice President of Marriage at Focus on the Family, author of over 20 books. I was just telling Dan this morning, if I hear one more time that God's going to open a door after he's closed one door, I was going to scream. So thank you for saying that. Now I can scream.
Yeah. Well, hey, remember, it's more of a window. So it's not a door, it's a window that get open. So.
And cleanliness is next to godliness. Thank
That's
you.
in the Bible.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye,
hey, real quick, I know you got to go real quick before we have to go and take a break. We know that you're working on this, and folks can go to, Dan, if you'll put the website there where they can go to, focusonthefamily.com. What do you have coming up? Do you have for yourself? Do you have another book coming out? What are you working on?
Yeah, we do a lot of live events now, so those are back. So Aaron and I get to do marriage events, and then we've got a brand new marriage assessment that's coming out that a couple can take that'll show them where they're strong and some growth areas, and give them some customized help. So yeah, come to our site. Especially, we've got an article on helping a friend struggling marriage. So we'd love to walk with you as you invest in others.
Thanks for what you guys do. We appreciate it. FocusOnTheFamily.com. You can find all the resources. You can find all of Greg's books and listen to podcasts and all kinds of good stuff. So check it out.
And just think, you get to go back to the office maybe next week, and John Fuller will be knocking at your door wanting to just talk Colorado Rockies or something. My gracious, that's what he talks to us about, and we've had enough. We've just had enough. Okay.
I will set a boundary for you on your behalf. No more Rockies.
Doctor, thank you so much. We do appreciate you. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.